to hammer home one of the points that Ms. Hammond made earlier. She and I have been talking regularly. Improvements to the interchange at exit 21. Sometimes growth is painful. Sometimes progress is painful. Traffic there is going to be a burden, especially at peak times during the construction process. You're going to hear me say this. I'm going to beat the dead horse a number of times because it's going to be an issue. We want to get out in front of it. People need to be aware of it. People need to recognize that with growth, with progress, there's going to be some pains. That'll be one of them. So the board and the public is aware. VDOT invoiced us our 50%, $1.7+ million for the revenue sharing. Loves has sent the county a check in the amount of $1.4 million to pay their portion of it. We've put our $300,000 into that project. VDOT has been front-funded the revenue sharing money. That process is complete. They've been paid. Moving over to broadband. Been talking about service in the Frontier service area for a long time. I met with the engineer and service manager in early August, shortly after our last meeting. They're putting in 5 drops in Frontier, and those folks will have access. Over 80% of that area will be served on or before December 31st of this year with fiber. So there's be a lot of activity. A lot of people will be served. There's going to be a couple of small pockets in that Frontier service area that aren't originally going to be served. There's some federal requirements on broadband and the technology aspect that they have to try to sell within a certain distance initially, and if they don't sell out all of their spaces within that initial distance, then they can start extending out further at reduced speeds. But there's a time period which they have to lapse, which they have to allow to lapse before they can do so. But that's good news, especially for that area. The county has been probably, I know when I first came to work here, not long after, probably 2004, 2005, conversation of broadband and Frontier and service, just internet service in that area has been discussed. So folks out there will see that service prior to the end of this year, if not
give
sooner.
a quick phone call to the former board member. We work on that all the time.
Somebody please call Dave Price and
Tell him we got.
He keeps in touch.
Yeah, just to follow up real quickly to broadband, there's a grant. DHCD has been working in our area for through a consultant doing a broadband study. You've seen the surveys, you've had the questionnaires. Several of you have probably met with the consultant at certain times. He's going to be presenting some recommendations, and primarily out of his effort here and what he's seen. He's going to recommend the formation of a regional broadband authority for our area. I think it's important to note, though, it's not our effort would not be to compete necessarily with the private providers, but to figure out a way to build some partnerships with private providers to access monies as an authority that we could identify projects to provide to those service providers to fill in some of the gap areas that are underserved currently. So you'll hear more about that in the coming months. The VACO annual meeting is coming up. Just a reminder, Melissa sent this to you, dated August the 16th. Information for the VACO annual meeting, November 13th, 15th. At the homestead, she needs to know by August 12th whether or not you plan to attend. Talked about the last several months.
September 12th.
October 12th. She needs to know by October 12th. Sorry. Our website, new website, has rolled out. It's up. It's a work in progress. There'll be some glitches. There'll be some things, but it's much more user friendly and much easier to access than our previous website. Rolled through just a few weeks ago. We finalized our after action review from the flood. Several good VDM coordinated that event. After action review identified a few things that we think we should change locally, and Ryan and the public safety director from City of Covington are going to work on implementing those over the coming months. The last thing I'll mention, and then we can move on, is I forwarded you by email the meals tax question from York County. It would just look for some direction from the board if you'd like Alleghany County to participate in that conversation. Basically, requesting county authorization throughout Virginia to be able to implement meals tax up to 8% without having to have a referendum. York County is initiating the effort for years. There's been a push for counties to have equal taxing authority as cities. It's not successful. York County is now looking to break that out from the overarching conversation of equal taxation to look at just meals tax at this point in time. Give me some direction as to whether or not you'd like Alleghany County to participate in that conversation. I'll let York County know. As I said in the email, I don't think it hurts us to be a part of the conversation. It certainly doesn't hurt to have that option. It doesn't require you to increase your meals tax, but it gives you some flexibility as you look at some of the projects you have coming forward. And the fact that a percentage on the meals tax is almost equivalent to what you generate for each penny on your real estate tax rate.